What's up, guys? Steven here, and this might be a quick vlog, but just wanted to jot out this idea. But so recently, I've had really two giant ideas on my head. One, I kind of actually mentioned it in my podcast the other day. So I started a podcast. I shall put the link in the description. But it's the idea of essentially what kind of player are you, right? And let me explain by that. I play a lot of video games. I used to, still kind of do, not as much as before. And I really enjoyed what are called MMORPGs, massive multiplayer online role-playing games, right? Um, you might have heard of them, like World of Warcraft, Guild Wars, which was the one I'm pretty much going to be referring to, which is my favorite. And there are some others, RuneScape, etc., etc. But essentially, these type of games, it's essentially you create an account and then you essentially have different skills, right? And um, in some of them, so for example, World of Warcraft and Guild Wars, you would pick what's called profession, right? Which was essentially what kind of account or character you want to play as. You could play as a ranger, as a monk, as an elementalist, as like a warrior, as an assassin, necromancer. There are different professions, right? And based on the type of character you chose, you get a particular set of attributes. You can think of it as like the strengths that make up that profession, right? So ranging would be like marksmanship, wilderness survival, um, beast, beast mastery. So you could control animals and stuff like that. It was cool. It's a really fun game. I actually recommend people to check it out. Guild Wars. One-time fee, never pay any monthly fee, right? But one thing was interesting that I didn't think about till now was why you were allowed to actually pick two professions in the game. You had a primary one and a secondary one, right? And it didn't. I was running the other day when I suddenly randomly started thinking about it, and I was like, it's probably because of this. Essentially, the structures, or if you think about it at the depth, how those games work is typically the professions. You can kind of break down the professions into two groups. One is heavy button mashing based profession, and the other one is like it's more strategic, more tactical based profession, right? So let me explain. So if you pick something like a warrior, you would probably most likely be using a lot of slash, right? And the slash attack recharges quickly, doesn't take up much energy, so you would be most likely spending a lot of time using slash, right? Now, another profession like ranger, right? It it has some attacks like that, but they're not as effective. The ones you most likely would be using is like power shot or something like that. Something that has medium to high reload time, and it takes somewhat of an energy. So what you would have to do in combination with that was to use a skill that maybe temporarily boosted your attributes for a certain amount of time, maybe something that you would even equip or you would bring out like a pet. So I mentioned Beast Mastery, so you would have something that could maybe aggro or kind of take some of the damage away from you. And then like you would use different skills to essentially not only boost the amount of damage that you were inflicting, but also increase the area of effect for your attacks. So maybe you'd be able to shoot further, or your attacks would be able to hit not just one target, but like 3 or 4 or 5 at a time, right? So you can clearly tell how there is more of a strategy behind this. Like, it involves getting the timing right, etc., right? So one is button mashing, kind of, when you think about it, and the other one is more tactical. And as I was thinking about this, I was like, you know, the reason why they probably allow you to choose a secondary profession is so that you can essentially offset the vulnerabilities presented by your primary profession, right? So you could pick a ranger and monk, so that way you could deal a lot of damage, but at the same time, you'd be able to heal yourself, or um, you would be able to pick ranger elementalist, which was my favorite. So you'd be able to like fucking drop bombs over everyone, right? Now, it's kind of funny, but for some reason, as I was running, I kind of extrapolated it to life. Meaning, in life, you can almost feel like, it almost feels like there's two types of people, kind of. I hate saying it like that because it's really an oversimplification. But you have the hard worker, the hard worker, and then the smart worker, right? The hard worker will fucking run through walls for you, right? Not run through walls, but someone with the hard work or a strong work ethic will hustle till he fucking dies. Like, he will do whatever it takes to get shit done. He'll run through walls, doors, windows, whatever it takes, right? And then someone who is more strategic or smart will ponder and reflect a lot and spend a lot of time thinking about the strategy behind something. Maybe even um, estimating if it's even possible. So calculate. This is the person that essentially calculates the percentage of success before doing anything, right? And if the percentage is low, he won't do it. And if it is, he will. If it's high, he will, right? Now, each approaches essentially have their pros, meaning the hard work, having a solid work ethic will fucking get you far. In fact, you will always win because it just takes a matter of time before maybe you reach mastery or maybe you reach your goal because you're always moving forward. Even if you're making mistakes, you're always doing the things that you need to do to essentially move you closer to the goal, right? Now, the cons of that is that because you don't spend much time strategizing, you're essentially more likely to make more mistakes, right? And on some level, it might cost you, right? You might say, now, yeah, blah blah blah. Are we thinking now what's more cost effective? If you're looking from like a cost effective standpoint, it really doesn't matter because yes, the one that makes less mistakes wins, but at the same time, the one that wins better, faster in a shorter period of time, and then if he figures out the blueprint to win, will win for the long haul is better, right? But just kind of throwing out there, the cons is you do make a lot of fucking mistakes, right? And maybe some mistakes are big ones. Now, on the other side, you have the fucking sniper, right? Who's super strategic, thinks about everything before doing anything, right? And the pros are obviously accuracy is going to be quite precise or quite high, like meaning he's going to be making less mistakes, right? But the downside is he's not going to be taking as much action, right? So there are essentially drawbacks to both, right? You might be taking a lot of action, but if you're not thinking about, if you're not essentially trying to optimize your actions, then on some level you're leaving yourself vulnerable. or you might not be taking, or you might always be taking a fuck ton of time to ensure that you're doing the right thing. But if you're wasting so much time strategizing, then you might as well just take more action, right? So it's like, which one are you? I literally was like, what kind of player are you? But now I feel like the game changer lies in being a hybrid of both. Or, in other words, understanding what your vulnerability is and playing but still playing to your strength. Meaning by so how I put it, I fell in love with Minesweeper a long time ago. Like when it was like on Windows 95. And I think it early on helped me um, get rid of my fear of fucking up or of making mistakes. Because you play that game and then like you'll literally fucking fail like every single time until you start figuring out how it works, right? So that really, really helped me. And um, as I grew up, I guess growing up even now, like I just understood fundamentally the importance of taking action, right? Like more than anything. But then it's only now as I was learning to think about, it would also be a good idea if as I'm taking action, I think about ways to improve, right? Or think about ways to take better, right, action, right? Because then my results will only be getting better, right? And so I was thinking about how, like, I feel like that's what we should all strive to do. Like, understand where you're vulnerable at and simultaneously, and by understanding where you're vulnerable at, you can actually come up with not a game plan, but I guess kind of like a strategy where you're playing around it without letting it fuck you up as much as it would if you were not aware of it, right? The way I literally envision it in my head, it's like if like a 300, uh, like a soldier from 300 maybe realized that he was like slower on his right hand, and so he decided to use that hand as a fucking shield that would be able to like fucking swag surf and like bait people in combat. Like they don't see you coming and then boom get punched in the shield and then stab, like just stupid shit like that. I don't know where my mind goes, but it's kind of the gist of what I'm saying. Like if you know you're vulnerable somewhere, then at least you know that there's a hole there. And if you know that there's a hole there, you can actually use it to your advantage to like trap, bait, and do all types of cool shit. Or even just help it like make you better. Maybe help you like become better because people will think you're a dummy and then you're like, haha, I'm actually smart. Like, or stupid shit like that, right? Like, my point is just the more you're aware of where you actually are, the better you'll be, right? Like, if for example, I need to work on my right foot because my right foot is still weird, but my left foot is good, right? But because I know that now, then in moments when it counts, then I'll know what foot to lean on. And then, like, in moments when, I could go either or, then do something different, right? Like, little things like that. So that was one idea. It's like, just try to figure out where your strength is, try to figure out where your vulnerability is, and then try to essentially play with both. So that way you're not so vulnerable in like one area altogether. Right? So that was one idea. The second idea was I don't know why, but like it kind of went along with this. It's the fucking how there is essentially I want to call it theoretical knowledge and then experiential knowledge, right? And this is the part that's kind of sucks to admit, but it's true. But essentially, I figured to be really good at something, you need knowledge, obviously, right? Like you need the right information. Now, to do it well, I feel like it comes in both. You could actually, if possible, you should go approach it from both angles. One angle is getting the theoretical knowledge, like the step by step, right? And then going after the experiential knowledge. Robina Corton, this lady, I actually shared stuff on her because she really distills down Buddhist concepts. But she mentioned this, how like she was trying to learn how to bake a cake, and so she's like, first you gotta make sure the source you're learning from is fucking credible, right? Like they actually know their shit. So she went to her mom, and then her mom taught her, right? Now she was talking about how like she could have read the book and stuff, but it really served her. It really helped her get it better by seeing her mom do it, because just like the nuances and everything, just it's more of an enriching learning experience. And I feel like it's the same thing for anything, right? If there's a fucking book on it, you should read it. And it's funny because when I got to that point in my head, I was literally thinking this shit as I'm running. And I was like, wait, Steven, that's kind of stupid to think though, because I'm sure the first people who built the fucking house didn't have a book. They're just like, oh, I'm gonna get this tree right here, and then I'm gonna do this type. And I fucking started cracking up, and because that's so true. And I think that's probably why fucking like Gary and like some other people are talking about like entrepreneurship can be taught, like, because it's like it's something where you just have to figure it out along the way, right? But my point is, knowledge can fucking help you, whether people want to say it's true or not. It can. The more you know, the better you are, if it's suited to what you're trying to do. So if there's a book on it and it's actually credible and it's actually giving you valuable information, you're better off fucking reading it. It's like, it took me forever to figure out in college is you actually have to fucking read the book of the class. Because if you only rely on just going to class and learning from a teacher, you're gonna fucking fail. Or you're not gonna get the grade that you want. But the book teaches you everything. And on top of that, it tends to have a lot of nuances that you never really saw coming. You never thought it even mattered. But it's like that one fucking piece of the puzzle that without it the puzzle will not be complete. On top of that, the book, and that's something that was like a game changer for me, was just realizing that information in books tend to be laid out in a way that it's most not, I don't want to say not just the most digestible, not just sequential, but it's laid out in a way to where your foundation is built from the bottom to the top, right? Like what I'm trying to say, it's like it's weird to learn something if you are like jumping all over the place, or like if you're starting from like this is it at the end. Now let's work our way back, right? But like as you're reading, it's just building upon itself, building layers and layers and layers. To where now when you get to the top, it just makes sense, right? So I was thinking, I was like, huh. So read a book and then go to fucking YouTube and get the experiential knowledge side. Experiential knowledge is like the knowledge gained from experience, right? So that's what you learn from people when they're like, hey, this is what you need to know. This is how to do it, and they demonstrate, even giving you the tricks of the trade, right? And that's fucking awesome. And it almost accentuates what you read by getting the foundational or theoretical knowledge first, because you're able to not only see it in action, but then you're able to actually catch how the small little things apply to the bigger picture, whether that person that's teaching you realizes it or not, right? That's like one of my biggest fears in programming is that like a teacher will not accentuate or explain something, but then that one thing could have been like something that I or anyone else built like a game changing feature, app, product, or software from, just because it's minute, but it does a lot. Like that's literally one of my fears, and that's probably why I really fucking read the book now. So I think that was my point. Like, don't essentially, and if you're a fucking hustler, this kind of makes you excited because it just means work, right? And the more work you can do, the better off you'll be, and the more ahead you'll be than from everyone else. But it's like if you can find a book on whatever it is you're trying to get better at or learn, you'll be much better off because it'll teach you foundational shit that can then be demonstrated when you go see the expert or see the demo or watch a YouTube tutorial. And that was my biggest thing, especially just trying to get deeper into just the actual WordPress engine and the database programming and like the PHP programming and even the JavaScript. Like after that, as I mentioned in the last with the free code camp map, like it was cool, but I just felt like there was just a lot I was missing, and I just realized like there's only so much a video can teach you, or because that person is a human being too, right? So they might have forgotten that one chapter on maybe pointers or something that was particularly challenging to them, but is vitally necessary for your education and your growth, and you just wouldn't ever know, right? But if you read a book on it, then at least you know about it, you know it's there. So don't fuck yourself up and get that knowledge in, both theoretical, foundational, like from a book, and then the experiential, and then like you'll just be better off. Like it's like dotting your T's, crossing your I's. Now this is the nerd in me, so I think about shit like this. But if for you might just be like, fuck it. Like as long as I see someone do it and it works, that's all I need. But I'm always like, but what if I'm missing something, and that thing would be the thing that so yeah. Anyways, head off. Hope you guys got something out of this, and as always, swagged fuck out. Super Mario. T.